Do you think that? Fuck yeah, that bitch sucks. Well, yeah, but here's the thing. I'm a tried and true American, so I hate everything that isn't like super American. Generally, I don't hate everything. I say that just to kind of be funny, but in reality, the British have always pissed me off ever since the moment that I learned that they burned down the White House during the War of 1812, and that's always just pissed me off. So, because of that, whenever they have a monarch who dies, which has only happened once in my lifetime, I kind of get a little bit of joy out of that. I agree. I mean, you can only, yeah, I mean, it's not directly at any, it isn't individual, it's more at the seat of the monarch. Yeah. Hey, um, it, so you used to skate. Yeah, that's a great question. The only time I'm for a monarchy is in a case of where you have someone called a philosopher king, which is a very unique leader, which I don't think you're really gonna find. Uh, yeah, so great question. It goes back to Socrates, and it's written within Plato's Republic. There's a section of Plato's Republic. If you don't know how it worked, Socrates didn't write anything. He was a philosopher. Plato was Socrates's pupil, and Plato wrote everything that Socrates did, and Aristotle was Plato's pupil. So it goes Socrates, Plato. So Socrates taught Plato, Plato taught Aristotle, Aristotle taught Alexander the Great. Okay, do you understand this? Excellent. So within Plato's Republic, there's something called the allegory of the cave. Even though Plato wrote it, Socrates is the person who actually developed it and thought it out. So what is it? It's the idea. Okay, so if you know what the cave is, you have everybody basically facing the same way. I always uh, analogize this to uh, people looking at a movie theater screen where everybody's facing the same way. Well, what they say is, or what Socrates says, a philosopher king are the people in society who don't believe the shadows that are being projected on the wall and have the courage to turn around and see that it is just the powerful people in the government or in the society who are casting these falsities on the wall, these fake shadows, and that essentially the people who walk past them to get to the mouth of the cave are what is known as philosopher kings, the people who dedicate themselves to knowledge of the good, and those are the best people in society to run society. But essentially, they're very rare, and you never know if somebody's a true philosopher king because they could just be pulling the wool over your eyes. But ideally, the best kind of leader is someone who is motivated by the good and also by the people. And so, under some circumstances, what would be a circumstance where I would be okay with a king? It would be like this. Let's say we could create a monarch who we always knew would make the right decisions using like AI or something. And we knew that we could regenerate that person forever so that there would never be like a constitutional crisis or a crisis in the monarchy where we didn't know who was taking over next. It would always be like, no, it's always the same guy. We know that, and he's a really good person, and we all love him. That's the best kind of monarchy you could have. There's a certain phrase for it that's escaping me right now, but it's known as like well, it's really known as a servant leader. But so it's like, I would say a king who is uh, a king who perhaps is at his heart a servant leader, may be a situation where I wouldn't necessarily, who lives forever is a situation where I wouldn't necessarily be against a monarchy. But aside from that particular case, I'm against basically all monarchies. Exactly. But if we could do this, we could scan their brain and realize like, oh no, their heart's in the right place, and that if they ever don't know that right answer, they will go and ask a committee of people, or they'll go to AI or do whatever they need to do. We can tell though that they have like the best intentions of the people that we can have, and perhaps we can even monitor this. And in addition to that, that we could preserve their life so that we would never have any kind of governmental crisis, then why wouldn't we want that? That's the best kind of leader you could ever want. Well, it could be. So, like reincarnation? I got you. Not just random. So you're saying like, okay, someone on another planet is able to get, yeah, like sex magic, where the magic is spelled like Majik. Yeah, that's some wild shit. Right. Well, probably not necessarily. In the future, you may be able to use the CRISPR gene editing to be able to provide much of that to your progeny. Just one moment, I'll be right back.
now when it's over.
I hope it does not get passed. In my opinion, that's a violation of the First Amendment. There's no limit. You know, whatever you want. Look, I think it should be legal. This is what I would say. If you want to use my likeness, that's fine. If I don't want you to use my likeness, then I can come out with my own website and say, look, I did not do the voiceover for this. I'm not being endorsed by this, or I'm not endorsing this product, so don't buy it. I still have the same power to say that somebody's stealing my identity and just don't buy their product. In fact, this product is a negative product because they've taken something of mine. That's absolutely fine and legal to say. And I don't understand why we don't go about it that way. Well, it's up to the. I mean, I think community notes is certainly a way to combat it. Community notes. It's a feature that Twitter has. Basically, if anyone tries to use deepfake or fake impersonations or um, illegal use of name, image, or likeness, underneath the post, there's like a little community note that clarifies that this is a deepfake or so and so has said that they didn't really say this, whatever it is. Yeah, so I think that's a good way to do it so that you allow people to make whatever kind of art they want to make and perhaps promote anything that they want to promote. But then there's a way for someone to say, I actually did not give my permission for this. And the people can use the likeness all they want as a because they're free to do it under the First Amendment. And the person who doesn't want them to use it is free to tell the world that they don't think that this person should use it under the First Amendment. And that's how the First Amendment works. You give your opinion on something, another side gives their opinion on something, and let the audience decide. Yeah, that's already done. And the solution to this, one of the solutions that perhaps maybe is what China's instituting. They're doing it first on a on a voluntary basis, but it will be rolled out perhaps nationwide in the next decade. Is a is an internet license. So in order to go on the internet, you need a license. Well, China's finally rolling it out. Yep. Well, we already have one with the credit system. We already have a social credit system that's the current credit system. So it already exists. Uh, a social credit system will just increase the power of it. We have that. That's currently what the FICO scores are. If you have bad credit, try marrying someone with good credit. It's very difficult. In the future, they will just take that to another level and say, if your credit is below this level, no matter what. Okay, if you have low credit and you want to marry someone with high credit in the United States, it's difficult because the person with high credit is going to, I don't want to hurt my credit by marrying you. When we're together and we get a loan on something, they use both our credits and your credit sucks. No, it's just like the idea of like if you have a really poor person and a really rich person and they want to get married, that's going to cause some issues. It'll cause issues with their families. It'll cause issues with how they divvy money. It'll cause power issues in the relationship. In the same way, if you have someone with really good credit in a relationship versus somebody with poor credit in a relationship, it will also create all kinds of issues within the relationship. Yeah, can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me? Thank you. Yo, Og. Yo, hey, you're good. So, just any kind of disparity within a relationship, whether it's financial, whether it's social, whether it's educational, whether it's based on their credit, is going to perhaps have some issue with the relationship itself. And all the social credit system will do is make it more difficult for people to interact or to get loans or to attend certain colleges or yeah, arguably it'd be probably directly similar to the Chinese system where like if you want your kid to go to college, a good college, you have to like volunteer on the weekends to clean up litter. That builds up good credit points, and then your kid can go to better schools. But if you get caught like with a DUI at the same time, your kid is fucked. It's basically based on your whatever your parents did. So is that a caste system? Yeah, arguably. Yeah, against. I think it's against the natural laws of man. What do I mean? Um, you know, the financial system is just an arbitrary system that we've currently chosen as our system, but it's only been in place for the last, say like 300 years. We've had other systems as well. We've had the barter system, we've had the trade system, we've had the tariff system. There are a lot of ways to run an economy, and we've only just chosen this one. And if we want to change all of our human evolution and who we with and the people with whom we can procreate and the people with whom we can have relationships and socialize, if we want to leave that all up to a score, you can, but to me that goes against our natural evolution. I personally like a world where Cinderella exists, but under the social credit score, Cinderella will never take place. So the idea of Cinderella is that she's a poor girl from uh, who lives with her stepmother and her wicked stepsisters. They go to the very rich ball where the prince is, and the prince they dance, and Cinderella has to leave before midnight. She loses her slipper. The prince finds it and is able to identify her based on her slipper. The idea that she's a poor woman marrying a prince would not happen in the future under a social credit system. That woman wouldn't even be allowed at the ball because she doesn't have a high enough social credit score. Sure. Cinderella would not be allowed to be at the prince's ball in the future because would not have sufficient social credit to attend. So in any story where it's like a rags to riches story, or where someone marries into a family, uh, these kind of situations will not happen anymore. They won't be allowed to happen. You won't be allowed to essentially class jump. So, getting back to your point, will it become a caste system? Yeah, probably in a similar way. I want peace. That's all I have to say. I think Israel will take over the world someday, so it means an entire world that's Israel. I know that's going to happen, so it's just a matter of time. I am for it if it can be done under completely peaceful means, and I think it can be. I think it can be done diplomatically. I like him. I've always liked him, but that's for different reasons. Um, I think that he's been a very well, just as he's an icon of Israeli leadership for the last 30 years, and at least in my life, he's been the most recognizable prime minister of Israel. And I think that he has a very strong front, and I think that he leads a small country with a great amount of courage. I think I could sit him down and say, Bibi, you and I both know that the plan is to take over the world. And we can't necessarily think that this is different than any Christian nation or any Muslim nation or even any secular nation. The United Kingdom wanted to take over the world with colonialism. The United States wanted to take over the world at a certain time with colonialism. The Roman Empire wanted to take over the world. The Holy Roman Empire wanted to take over the world. So for yeah, that's what the plan. Yeah, but see, you have to understand that I think that we can change what the definition of Jewish is. I mean, we can. I know we can. So, oh yeah, definitely. That immediately sounds like everyone's going to be killed off who's not a Jew. And what I'm saying is that it's more accurate to say to give people an opportunity to be Jewish should they wish. And what does that mean? That is something that is a definition that is going to change in the future. But at the end of the day, what it means is that you have It doesn't matter what the fuck you practice. It doesn't matter what your grandparents practice. It doesn't matter any. Here's what matters. If I check your DNA, do you have mitochondrial? Do you have matrilineal mitochondrial DNA that I can trace to the Bible? If I can do that, great. Then you're a Jew. If I can't do that, then you're not a Jew. But that doesn't mean we can't do that in the future with a certain type of technology, be able to give you that same kind of matrilineal DNA. I've read about this because I read about this kind of shit. It shows that we can all, it's basically like showing that we're all connected to the same people and like a family. And so that isn't to worry that like, well, what if I don't, not I know I have matrilineal mitochondrial DNA, not only because my mother told me and my grandmother told me, but it's been proven by people in my family. So I have the greater advantage of knowing scientifically I'm a Jew, but also based on practice and my family's traditional religious roots. So I can come out and like I have the confidence to come out and say that I have the type of DNA that I need, but not all Jews do, and not all people do. And if you all want to have the same DNA that I do, which every Jew wants to, and a lot of other people do as well, there's a type of technology. Yeah, I mean, there's certainly superiority complexes that exist in different communities. I can tell you that that's pretty prevalent within the Orthodox community, and I can tell you that I I have that superiority myself. I feel privileged that I can trace my ancestors back to the Bible, even before the written Bible. And I want everybody to have that kind of privilege. So, what does that mean? There are types of technology out there that can actually recreate your cells to have mitochondrial DNA that traces itself to the Bible. So, let's say you're the most devout Jew in the entire world, but you didn't know it, but your grandmother converted. And since your family never talked about it, you didn't know. But in reality, since your grandmother converted, there's a very high probability that you don't have mitochondrial DNA. And when you find out that you don't, then you're going to be absolutely crushed because we're going to look at you. Really, are you still the same Jew that we knew before we had the test results? So, in order to avoid any of this embarrassment, there's just a type of technology that can be developed that I've read about that changes your mitochondrial DNA to be whatever you want it to be. So we could trace it back as far back as we'd want to anyone. And I think, well, there will be a lot of people who discriminate against people in the future based on a lot of these things. That won't be the only one. There'll be a lot of reasons why people discriminate against other people. In addition to what we've done in the past, skin color, a big one in the future will be eye color. Well, people don't know this, but everyone with brown eyes already has blue eyes. There's a type. No, no. No, you can actually remove the top layer of the brown in your eyes to reveal a brilliant blue. But every single person who has brown eyes. But it's not like you can remove the blue in someone's blue eyes and make brown eyes. It doesn't work that way. So it's only on certain colors. And essentially, what I believe the plan is, because blue is rarer, it will turn out that all people on Earth will eventually want blue eyes. There will be different changes in society. There'll be like I think blue-eyed people are only like naturally like less than 5% of the population of the world, but that will grow to be like 95%. But once it gets to 95%, then the people who are left over with brown eyes and green eyes and gray eyes and all this, they'll be seen as genetic outliers and they'll be seen as really, really interesting. But essentially, what'll happen in the future is everyone who has the CRISPR gene editing will have a certain amount of default um, genes, and I think one of them is going to be blue eyes. Another one is going to be like you can't have your kid be over 6'6", or else everybody would use the CRISPR system to just have super tall kids. So there are going to be some limitations on how much you can edit someone. Yeah. So and I can tell you, even within Judaism, we may perhaps have inter I don't want to call it a civil war, but interfaith inter uh, I would say intra-faith disagreements where and I again we have so much in common as people, whether we're talking about Homo sapiens or people in certain countries. We are 99.99% the same DNA, and thus I want to look toward what unites us, the 99.99%, and really I could give a shit about the 0.001% that divides us. Absolutely. How you living, Riser? Open parentheses, L, close parentheses. Was it the most fascinating discussion you've ever heard in your entire life? I mean, it's a pretty cool discussion. You're not going to hear many people tell you that everyone with brown eyes has blue eyes. Yeah, you can look it up. Currently, I agree. Um, everything I always say, shit. I'm in agreement with you. I come up with I come up with wild. Well, and I've told you this, Og. I had that dream long ago, or not that long ago, but like 3 years ago, where all of the answers to these questions, like I remember this was one of them, like what color eyes will people have in the future, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so the way that you can find this out, the way that I learned about it was in that dream, but then I looked up the technology myself, and then I heard a plastic surgeon talk about it in Beverly Hills, that this is becoming more and more popular with people. Yeah, so I don't. I would. I wrote about this on. It's on. My article is on um Reddit. Just one moment. Let me just read the article. And if you're like, well, how did you write an article and not know what everything was? It was just it was AI, but what I wrote was AMA Rabbi Rothschild, and then I'm gonna search in the text for eye color. You're good. AMA Rabbi Rothschild. We're looking at comments, eye color. All right, I found it. If you can hear me, okay. So this was the name of my essay. I asked myself the question: what are your thoughts on eye color modification surgery? So I think that's what it's called, eye color modification surgery. I'm sure it has some other fucking scientific name like ocular, chromatic, pigmentation, alteration, whatever the fuck you want to call it. I call it eye color modification. All right, so what is this shit? Essay: The future of eye color modification surgery. In the future, advances in medical. Hold on, I'll wait till August here. Let me know when you can hear me. Okay, excellent. Uh, In the future, advances in medical technology may enable individuals to change their eye color through surgery. Imagine a world where the majority of people originally born with brown eyes opt for surgery to transform them into vivid blue. This transformation is one way. Not everyone with blue eyes chooses to undergo surgery to change to brown. This essay explores the potential future where eye color modification surgery becomes commonplace, leading to a global shift towards blue eyes. Current state of potential eye color surgery. Presently, eye color modification surgery remains largely in a hypothetical realm or in limited medical trials. However, as medical technology advances, the possibility of safely altering eye pigmentation through surgical procedures becomes increasingly feasible. One promising technique involves the removal or alteration of melanin layer in the iris. So exactly what you said, which determines eye color. By selectively removing the brown pigment, surgeons can reveal the underlying blue pigment, effectively changing the eye color from brown to blue eyes. And there's a bunch more that I wrote. But basically, it's exactly what we just said, what you just said, removing the melanin. So I hope that answered your question. It is to my it is just the removal of a small thin layer of skin on your eye, and then those people who have the surgery done, if they want, not just these people but anyone in the future who wanted their children to have blue eyes, they could just make it so that that would occur naturally using gene editing technology. But for anyone who's already been born where that technology, it's too late for that technology, they could just have that thin skin, that thin layer of melanin on their iris removed. Sure. To the best of my knowledge, it was two. I've only ever had two of them. One of them was like really, really. I don't know how long it was. Um, it gave like other dreams normally last like, I don't know, in my head maybe like an hour at most. This one went through like all of the technology of the future, every friendship I've ever had in my life, every like relationship I've ever had. Yeah, almost. It was like, um, well, I can remember what it was. It was, I was in my rabbi's house, and he was like, I'm speaking to you on behalf of all of the rabbis, the rabbinate. Basically, when you talk about this dream, you'll say that it's the rabbinate, like, who inspired you for this. But he was like my rabbi was like the spokesperson. And my rabbi is like a very, very important rabbi, perhaps the most powerful rabbi in the world. And I mean that. If you look up the JDL, the Jewish Defense League, he was head of the Jewish Defense League in the 1960s. His rabbi was a rabbi. It's different than the ADL. It's like some people will call it the terrorist wing of Judaism. Um, while some people may say that, I can tell you that at least I was educated in the most, I would say, aggressive type of Judaism that you can find. The kind of Judaism that's like, hey, if an anti-Semite calls you a kike on the street, you punch him in the face. That kind of like, don't take any shit from people. Um, I'm actually pretty cool with people calling me kike. It doesn't bother me. I have a Well, it's just people have said it to me so much on the internet over the last 3 years. I've heard every insult ever. I've heard every Jewish insult. I've heard every black insult. I've heard every white insult. I've heard every Asian insult. Because when people see me, they don't know always what I am. So they'll just fucking say whatever they want. So I've heard all of these so much that I've become desensitized. and thus you can just basically say to me whatever you want, and I don't take too much offense to it. I almost laugh it off because I know that it just shows that you're small-minded, and that's how I treat that. But I can tell you, at least from this dream, it was. Um, I remember it was like, okay, you're gonna be the most famous person in the world, and everybody's gonna know about you. You're the funniest person in the world. And I said, I already knew that. I remember saying that in the dream. I said, I already knew that. They're like, okay, yeah, but the world's gonna see you're a really funny motherfucker. And I remember it was like there were memories that I had of my bris when I was 8 days old that I didn't have before. That it was like my circumcision, like where they cut off part of my penis, and um, you know, yeah, exactly, yeah. It was like a suppressed memory where they were like, "You remember your bris?" And I'm like, "No, I don't." And they're like, "Yes, you do. You have a memory in your head. The only thing that stands out, it's like a complete black canvas with like a red circle. Like I don't know why, but that's the memory that I have from it. And it's like a complete black canvas is what I see, what I remember. And then all of a sudden there's like a red circle, just like a red paint, almost like an eclipse when you see like a dark middle and like red ring around it. That's all I remember. But I had no memory of this before the stream. Some other things that happened that were like that I didn't know were going to occur that have occurred in society are like the development of Chat GPT. I remember talking with these rabbis, and I was like, they were like, yeah, so you know what artificial intelligence is? Because I'd written to my rabbis at length before the pandemic and during the pandemic about artificial intelligence. I was going to get, or I was in the process of getting uh, this certification for to be a certified project management professional, and I was learning all about computers and basically like this, like how they started. A lot of people don't know the history of the computer in like its very earliest form. It's very related to the loom for clothing, and so I basically wrote this one essay to one of my rabbis that I think becomes very famous in the future. It's about how the world is moving towards total in, intellectual singularity, and I write about this. Okay, so one of the things that happened in the dream was they told me that they're like, there's going to be this AI that comes about, and it's going to be a game changer. And I'm like, okay. Now this was before ChatGPT was launched, and they're like, you're going to get your hands on it, and you're going to really like it, and you're going to use it all the time. You're going to tweet with it and do all this other stuff. And I was like, okay, how good is this AI? And they're like, the chat bots that you used to use on like websites that are really shitty and don't work well. And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, it's the opposite of that. These things work amazingly. They're gonna write essays for you, like everything that ChatGPT does now. But it wasn't on my radar that would be a thing. And then I remember when it was launched, November 30th, 2022, I was using it, and I was like, oh my god, this is that fucking thing from the dream where they were like, yeah, like there's gonna be this thing that fucking revolutionizes society. What else? I mean, there's a definite a lot. I remember one thing that was in the dream that was this. Not everything that you think is the way it's going to happen in this stream is actually going to happen. We need to keep you basically on your toes, or basically like it'd be no fun if you knew absolutely everything that was going to happen. But you should know that like, yeah, there's a big plan to rebuild the second temple of Solomon, and that essentially you're going to see that over the course of your life. It's going to happen around the year 2049, 100 around like the year 2048, the 100th anniversary of the founding of the state of Israel, or the refounding of it. Um, what else? There was going to be like a major Yeah. Oh, I'm sure it will. I'm excited for. Yeah, I think it's 1 or 2 years, something like that. I think it's a master's degree. Yeah. No. Yeah. I believe it was through the University of Maryland at Baltimore County or something like that, but that's where this rabbi was. Because these are not. It's something like that. It's something like that. I don't want to say that's what it is. It wasn't Johns Hopkins. It was something in Maryland, but it wasn't a traditional Jewish. Here, I'll just look it up. Dude, UMD is one of the, but it does have one of the largest Jewish populations of any public university in the United States. No, 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 University of Maryland. Come on, Maryland. Um, it's something like the World of Kabbalah at the Ariel Center, something like that. I remember looking into this at the different places to go, and there was something unique about this one. It was like I think it was the first in the United States that offered a formal class on Kabbalah that was offered outside of a synagogue or something like that. There was something special about it, and I remember learning about it like again like this like 3 or 5 years ago. It was a while ago. But it just something in my mind just said that's the one I'm gonna go to. That's the one I want where I want to learn. Yes, I'm gonna learn with my own rabbis, and I'm gonna learn under my own um, self discovery. But if I want to learn under anyone, I want to learn under the first one in the United States. That's really important to me. What dog? Um, I, I had well, let's see, health protocols. No, nothing that I can recall off the top of my head. Um, I had someone who died. My Rebbitzin, so Colonel Vracha. So my Rebbitzin is the wife of my rabbi, and she died in 2020. A Rebbitzin, that's the wife of a rabbi, and I was very close with her, and I I can just say that like she's like a mother to me, and so she died that year, and she died. Yeah, it was either that year or the year previous, but it was still all very related because it was during the pandemic, and it was just like how you would never like whenever anybody you hear anybody who says that they have a dream or somebody like they had like a premonition or something like that you always think they're full of shit. I'm like, yeah, and they're like, yeah, like that's that's how you're gonna feel about yourself. But there's just some shit about the future that you're gonna know that people are gonna be like, how the fuck did he know that? And you're gonna share it and just be, yeah, exactly. And I remember this. This was like a part of it. I was like, how how is it that you guys knew, like to the rabbis? I'm like, how is it that you guys knew that at least like within this dream, they're like, you're a special person, et cetera, et cetera. I'm like, okay, great. How is it that you guys knew that I was special or whatever? And they were like, well, the only answer people are gonna ask you this question, and the answer that you're gonna give is the most honest one that you can. Basically, that you are a major advocate for alien disclosure on Earth, and that you think that alien abductions have been happening on Earth for like thousands of years. And apparently, there was an alien abduction in the Middle East, like during the Middle Ages, and somehow, some way, that person was brought back to Earth and were like given a vision of what the future would look like, and they were able to communicate this to someone within the rabbinate, and that's how a lot of this information of the past is so accurate today. Whether or not that's true, that's all I remember from the dream. And as much as I want to say every single aspect of this dream has absolutely come true 100%, that isn't true. But I remember in the dream them saying it's not going to happen exactly the way that we're telling you right now. Because if we told you that exactly, then it wouldn't be a surprise to you. That we want some of these things to be a surprise to you. Like one of the things I remember that comes really big under, not under me, but like I just start talking about this shit, and everything about which I talk about becomes really, really interesting to people. And one of the things about which I talk is space tourism. And I have a mutual colleague who is William Shatner's rabbi. And there's a question. William Shatner was like 93 years old and he went into space. And there was a question like, hey, he's a Jew. Do we have to do all the traditional Jewish mitzvot, the traditional Jewish commandments when we go to space? And there's not like a great answer to that. Who do we ask? We can't ask God. He's not going to give us an answer, or perhaps not like a solid answer. And any of the rabbis who are alive, these are just men. So what's the answer? And it, what it ends up being is no, we don't. Once we go to space, that's kind of like that changes things. But one thing that I remember from the dream is when you get a chance to do space tourism. I remember being in the dream. Show me what space is like. I kept saying, just show me what space is like. And they said, or I said to them this, something like this: show me what the most beautiful thing in the universe is. And they said, you're gonna see it, but you're not gonna see it there's until you're a space tourist. And I'm like, what in the fuck are you talking about? They're like, you know what space tourism is, where people travel to space as like a vacation. And it seems like a really far fetched thing. But over the course of the next 50 years, it's going to become pretty commonplace with companies like Millennium Space Forces and Millennium Space Systems and SpaceX and um, Virgin Virgin Galactic, these like kind of companies that are becoming space companies. And I remember asking, just show me what the most beautiful thing is that human eyes can see. And they said it's when you get into space and you are able to see what the stars look like. Apparently, the stars, when you're in space, looking at the blackness of space, are just like so vibrant. It's just unbelievable. And whether it's true or not, I can imagine that they're just absolutely spectacular. And I remember being like, yo, can you hear me? That's okay. Um, Yeah. Don't mention. Yeah, don't mention to me. I don't want to have anything to do with that. I just live my life the way that I live it, and will let because you are supposed to. You're supposed to focus on your family. You're supposed to focus on your wife and your children. Your children are supposed to be basically grown at this point, and you should be at a point where you no longer are devoting your life to Torah as much as you are to opening it up to other aspects of perhaps halakha, Jewish study, and opening yourself up into Jewish mysticism. But um, to be honest with you, again, I've always done my best to avoid any kind of learning about Kabbalah. I've had invitations to attend the Kabbalah Center, if you're familiar with it, in LA, and I've turned them down. Yeah, simply from the fact that I'm not of age yet. It's almost as if you are, um, like, how would I describe it? Like someone who's going to turn 21, they don't want to drink anything beforehand because they want it to be a surprise. No, most don't. But oh wow, okay, yeah. So I would say, well, most Jews don't ever learn about it, and so those who do, yeah, probably like of the Orthodox world, 50%, something like that. Do you know what a golem is? Do you know what a golem is? Yeah, it's like there are these traditional stories within Judaism of a rabbi who essentially is able to create like a robot, almost like Frankenstein's monster, and this robot does his bidding as he needs to be done. And I find that story to be very apt, or at least appropriate to what I'm doing with my robots on computers. While I'm not creating a golem, a robot out of clay, like is envisioned in the story where a rabbi molds a golem out of clay and essentially can breathe life into him. Uh, I have created my own version of robots with these, or my own version of golem with these robots, which I think is kind of fascinating. I agree. It's wild shit, man. Well, yeah, great question. Well, I remember the question that brought me to even becoming more religious was this: if so, within Judaism, we believe in essentially a divine plan, and so my question arose. I remember asking my rabbi this: if there is a divine plan, then that means essentially there's predestination. And if that exists, then how can that occur simultaneously with free will? Because we're also told that we have free will. And it's kind of, it really gets into a paradox. How can you have one thing and how can something be something? I think they do too. And as I've said, yeah. Um, so every single action in the entire world. Okay. I mean, absolutely everything is predetermined. Every single thing, like, is it known beforehand? And so it's just playing out. And humans can have a belief that they can alter things, but in reality, that's all just according to the bigger plan. So both things are happening at the same time. Humans think that they have free will because they're making these decisions of their own, what they think freedom, of their own volition. But in reality, these things were perhaps predestined beforehand. And um, I mean, okay, so what are other things from the dream? Oh man, there was so fucking much. I can tell you there's this whole, it's very, very commercial. This dream is very, very commercial. And the reason why is because the corporatocracy and the technocracy, the corporate world, becomes very, in the future, very intertwined with society so that they um, they basically run society. So they're like I okay, here's one I remember. Um, so the United Nations has the Security Council that has like five different countries on it, something like France, the United States, the United Kingdom, China, and Russia, who are like the final say in anything that has to do with nuclear weapons and stuff. Okay. Well, I remember in this dream, eventually Meta and Amazon get to be so powerful as companies that they actually are able to join the United Nations and join the Security Council. And the way that they're able to justify it eventually is they say like, "Hey, our GDP, our gross domestic product of our companies is larger than most of these countries. So why is it that we don't have any type of representation here?" And because they have so much influence on the globe, eventually, I remember Amazon and Meta eventually joined the United Nations. Now, that sounds absolutely ludicrous to us now, but hearing it and then thinking about it, it makes total sense. Exactly. Another thing I can tell you that becomes really important is a Facebook currency. So Facebook announced like 5 years ago that they were going to have their own currency, and it was amazing how much support they got behind this currency. Because if you looked who was supporting the currency, it was like American Express, Goldman Sachs, Visa, MasterCard, like all the big companies out there. And so Facebook was coming out and they were saying we're going to have our own currency, and um, then they pulled the plug on it. But I think that's going to go forward in the future. Basically, they already had all the big companies they needed for this. It's just they stopped it, I think, right before COVID or something like that. Okay, so what does that mean? Um, you're a yeah, 12/26/85. Another aspect of it was the thought of more along the corporatocracy and all of these um, like slogans. Like all these companies are going to want to connect with this because there's so much data involved, and I generally have a very positive view of companies. Like I've always been really into advertising and marketing and the history of companies and stuff. So I can tell you like some companies are going to change their logos. And I remember in this dream what the logos are. So, for instance, you know the car company Cadillac? Okay, so Cadillac, I don't know what their motto is right now. I don't know. I think it's whatever. But their motto in the future is going to be Cadillac. Yesterday, today, forever. Why? I don't know. I just remember Cadillac was going to be in this, and that was going to be um, their slogan. What's another slogan that was going to have to change? No, I don't do that. Oh, no. I mean, um, I think that the stars are perhaps important to how we view ourselves as humans, and that there could perhaps be more out there. Um, but I think generally the zodiac and those types of descriptions are written so that they're pretty vague, so that anybody can fit certain. Um,
Now, here's your guest host, Connie Willis. It is Connie Willis on. I can still
Help me with it. Help me with it.
you guys, if you ever want to find me, .com.
Please explain it.
A lot of you have found me on Twitter and Connie Willis. It brings me to all the nice, whatever it's all that speak. And you
Yeah, I'm in agreement with that. It's like the butterfly effect.
and that's where you check all over for George for a really nice discount. And let us know if anything happens. And if you'd like to go to
Yeah.
GhostAM.com.
Uh, so I don't mind if you do it, but I don't really like. It's not something that I really get into, just because it's generally prohibited within the religion to abide by certain astrological symbology. But yeah, I wouldn't mind. Well, essentially, um, there's a phrase. It's we aren't supposed to take the prediction of events based on soothsayers, and that's really the prohibition that I am using now. Constellations are certainly important within Judaism. In fact, we say, like, if you have a pregnant woman, not when you find out Mazel Tov, you don't say that when you find out she's pregnant, because you don't know that she hasn't had the baby yet. So you don't say congratulations. You essentially say, may the event happen under the correct the correct stellar alignment, the correct constellations. So they are referenced, but in general, the constellations are a Greek development, and that's separate from traditional Judaism. So that's just why I stayed away from that.
Coast AM. Hello there, Connie Willis here on Coast to Coast AM, speaking with Diane Satterfield, an author and experiencer of dark happenings and her family's life.
Just read the forum.
Feel dark and disturbing after 4 decades. Had some
A forum?
in there too, so hitting all sides of your book yourself.
Above Top Secret?
It gets a little exorcist-like, doesn't it?
It's called Above Top Secret?
Exorcist came out. That had to be set.
It just has like the most recent information on like UFO crashes and stuff.
You can check out her book and decided, hey, I need to journal all this, put it all down, and you can find it on Amazon. Era Abnormal in Kentucky.
It has other things too, but I normally take a look at it to just see what happened in the paranormal world. Like a lot of times, if somebody has like really good UFO footage, they'll put it on here first.
Before that, I told you time flies when you're on the show, right? This is our last segment. It goes by pretty quick, doesn't it? Yes, it does. Oh, it's all of a sudden what? It's over? So before you tell a couple more stories, let me ask this. What do you say to other people that have these experiences? Do you help them along? Do you say, hey, this is how you need to handle it? Do you have any advice for anybody else that deals with this?
I had 3 little workshops. It was just 3 segments at the Whippoorwill Festival a few years ago, 3 summers in a row. And I enjoyed it because it was small group, and they would come, they'd come in, and I would be there with my family. And it was a safe place, and where people could talk and say, I never told anyone this before. And people would stroll in, and I try to read their faces. Some people look really bored.
Yeah, I would tell you be careful of what you read on it, just because you can only take it with a grain of salt. But you will find some really interesting things on it. I don't, at least when it comes to the news that I get, I am someone who wants to hear as many different theories on a given topic as possible, and then I'll be the one to make the decision on whether I think it is true or not. I don't need a fact checker to tell me whether it's true or not. I can make that decision for myself. There you go. Yeah.
Help each other, and you can get through it.
Right. I've been aware of that previously. There's something having to do with the amount of sushi that's ordered in the DC area, the Beltway, and when higher amounts of pizza and sushi and things are ordered, there's just a higher correlation with war of being in the. I agree.
Get that book.
Um.
Again, para, ab, normal in Kentucky.
Well, I can definitely see why they be. I don't know the symbology of them, but um,
So I want to.
there was another kind of bellwether that I had read that was something like this, but it's not coming to me off the top of my head. Um, what was it? I forget what it was. There's some there. I mean, you would think though that we've only gone to war or done something like a build up to war a handful of times in the history of the country. So to just check certain statistics that are outlier that take place in and around that time, maybe it has to do with certain amount of hotel rooms that are purchased by government personnel or pizzas that are ordered or perhaps telephone calls that are made, that there may be some kind of way to predict the future, predict future events based on that. So I I normally go here for their alien stuff. And so the way you can find welcome. Hey, how you doing? What up, pimp? All right, we're ready to do it. Let's do it. That's right. Absolutely. Cool. I was in my friend's wedding in 2020, and his wife is super into Disney. And so all of my friends' groomsmen had to pick a different Disney character. And like my friends picked like, Goofy and Daffy Duck and stuff. And I picked Prince Charming. I thought that was a pretty good choice. Word. Yo, what up, Prince Charming? How you living, pimp? What's good? Hey, I'm living the dream. Every day's a holiday, every meal's a feast. I hear that you want to go viral. I hear you want to go viral. Absolutely. All right, pimp. I've got some questions for you. I hope you have some answers for me. Word, dog. Oh, you got to answer these 73 questions. That's the first thing. Just one moment, and I'll get them for you. Are you ready? All right. First question that isn't even on the list. What is your Kick username? Hold on. No, Tim Tam. I know yours is that. I mean, would that be Fizzy? Fizzy knocking? Wait, who's doing the who's doing the 73 questions? Exactly. And what is your Fizzy? What is your username on Kick? Okay, just one moment. I want to get that down. That's what I need to get. Bear with me. Because I have to tell everybody how to find you. Okay, how do you spell that? Just read it to me. Rabbi is. Yeah. So what is word? You can look at my ID. So what what is your user? Dog, look at my YouTube. My ID is on my page. All right. So what is your username, dog? Lil Ant 2X. If you look on YouTube, dog, I've got like 6 cameras on right now. So I don't know what you do and what you don't like, but let me get this straight. You're in my world, okay? I have 3 cameras on me right now. You only have 1 on you. Why don't you put another 2 on you? Yes, you do. You just said I can't see your camera. Word. Cool. Back to my original question. Is LIL, is it Lil X? Dog, I've got 3 of them on. Dog, you can look at my ID. Who are you like? I don't want to do that interview. Just tell me how to spell your username. Are you dumb? I can see my face. Can you see my face? Yeah. Oh, well, you were wrong. Now, for the 50th time, dog, how do you spell your username? Dog, how do you spell your username? Dog. Hey, to my man, Tin Tom, I would love to do this, but your boy here doesn't fucking know how to operate. No, I need his fucking username. I have to tell people how to find him on Kick. Okay, that's what I needed. LUHANT. Excellent. LUHANT 2X. Is that correct? Okay, excellent. All right. Now, to my man, uh, Fizzy Knockin', if you want to see my ID in this Discord, you can look at the very top. It says 24/7 YouTube streams. Do you see that? Click that link, and you'll see my ID is on the thumbnail of my clip. Dog, read my name on the ID. Dude, shut the fuck up. I'll just get my ID for your ass right now. Listen here, you little sluts. Shut the fuck up. Now let's see your ID, you piece of shit. Dog, you guys are fucking blind. No, I'm showing you a fucking picture. It's on the internet. I'm going to show you right now, and then you're going to shut the fuck up. Dog, I do it all the time. This from the same brain who's telling us that he doesn't know that I'm streaming. Dog, you want to see it on my passport? We're going to do a podcast. We're going to do a podcast. You ready? Excellent. All right. That's absolutely correct. All right. Here we go. We want to thank everybody for being here for another episode of the Rabbi Rothschild podcast. We have the great privilege of having with us Luhant 2X. That's spelled Luhant 2X. You can find Luhant 2X at kick.com/Luhant 2X. How are you today, Luhant? Excellent. First question that we have for you. When's your favorite time of day? What's your biggest weakness? What's your biggest strength? What's the biggest learning experience you've ever had? What's your idea of a perfect date? Word. What's one vice or a bad thing you wish you could give up? What's a cause that's important to you? Sure. Sure, it can be a personal cause. Beautiful. What's the best compliment you've ever received? When do you feel most inspired? That's okay. Do you prefer sweet or savory? What song can you listen to on repeat? What makes you smile the most? What's one thing people don't know about you? What is your preferred type of footwear? What do you prefer, vintage or new? What are three things you can't live without? Do you prefer a window or an aisle seat? What's your current favorite television or movie character? Do you prefer a significant other in leather or lace? Sure. Do you prefer a significant other in leather or lace? What's the most adventurous thing you've ever done in your life? How do you define yourself in three words? What's your current favorite piece of clothing that you own? Hell yeah, that's a tight hoodie. If you had to advise the world to own one piece of clothing, what would you advise everyone to own? What's inspiring to you in your life right now? What's the best piece of advice you've ever received? What's your pet peeve? A pet peeve is a negative thing that you don't like about a person or a place. On your significant other, do you prefer diamonds or pearls? What's something you notice about someone when you first meet them? What's your biggest regret? What's heavily played on your playlist right now? That's okay. What's your favorite board game? Yes. What's your guilty pleasure? What book did you most recently finish? What is your favorite book ever? What's your favorite book ever? How do you start your day? What's your favorite holiday? If you could raid one person's closet, who would it be? Yeah, just like a celebrity you think has cool clothes. If you could switch lives with one person for a day, who would it be? Excellent. We're more than halfway home. What's one thing you've always wanted to try but been too scared to do? All right. Next question. What's one thing you wish you knew at age 13? Besides your phone or wallet, what are a couple of must-have things that you need when you go out? If you were not a streamer, what would you be doing? What's something you can't do? What's the best vacation you've ever taken? What's one city you've always dreamed of traveling to? What's something you always travel with? What's your favorite food? What's your favorite dessert? What's your favorite dessert? What's your favorite snack? What's a movie that made you cry? What's your favorite movie ever? What's one talent you wish you had? What's your favorite exercise? What's your favorite band? What's your favorite fast food order? What's something you don't want to be doing in 10 years? What's the cutest thing on planet Earth? What's the best thing that happened to you this year? Yes. What's your favorite drink or cocktail? What movie makes you laugh the hardest? What do you usually eat for dinner? What do you usually eat for lunch? What do you usually eat for breakfast? What's your favorite thing in the world? What's your favorite color? What color clothing do you wear the most? What are three words to describe living where you live? Do you like surprises? What's one thing you had to learn the hard way? Apologies. What's one thing you had to learn the hard way? Excellent. The home stretch. What's something you're tired of? Who do you turn to when you're sad? What trend do you want to see continue forever? How do you want to be remembered? Well, Luhant 2X, you just completed Rabbi Rothschild's 73 Questions of Vogue magazine. Thank you so much for your honesty and for being so candid with us today. If you want to find Luhant2X again, you can find him at kick.com/. Luhant2X. That's spelled Luhant 2X. Luhant2X. Is there any other social media that you'd like to plug or anything else that you would like to say? Yep. So we interview kick streamers. Oh, you can look at the podcast. Too many to name right now, but we've had a lot of successful people on here, and you're the next person who we have. what we're going to do is we'll end the podcast here. We'll publish it on Spotify, iHeartMedia, iTunes, Google Play, and YouTube. And you'll also get a nice write up on yourself on Reddit. So there'll be some positive SEO that you'll get, search engine optimization, so that when somebody looks up Luhant 2X on the internet, you'll see positive stuff. Well, if you don't want to be famous, then we don't have to publish you. Okay. I don't have to. That's all right. You sure you don't want to be on a podcast? You already did it. You already did it. All right. Absolutely. Well, we can keep it that way. 100%. There's Riser. He's a friend of mine. He's here most nights. Og, he's a friend of mine. Riser's from Canada. Og lives in the United Kingdom. And we just had an interview with you. What'd you do? I I spam your Twitch stream. You don't mean kick?
No.
Okay. Well, that's news to me. Excellent. I'm the king of the world, baby. Well, we have our friend Fizzy Knockin here. Fizzy Knockin is a friend of Tin Tom's. Any friend of Tin Tom is a friend of mine. They were, yeah. There you go. Elle, how'd you find out about me?
I have a friend who has severe schizophrenia and only knows Harry Potter a long time. He referred me to a live stream of headquarters where Rabbi resides.
Hold on a second. Who is your schizophrenic friend?
Marcus Wentz.
He's really schizophrenic?
We have all of his money and Harry Potter.
Dude, don't call him schizophrenic. These people don't know what that means. They think that you're referring to him as someone with a serious psychological issue. No, I got outside sometimes. I don't have to do that. I have to do all this. I'm, I'm surprised if I even have 2 viewers. It's 3 years. Well, dude, Doug, hold on a second. Hold on a second. This is from the genius who could only figure out that I had one camera going when 3 of them were looking at me. All right. So, my man, you have to understand, I have 8 different YouTube channels going right now. I'm live on 33 different platforms. As of right now, I can see at least 25 different people watching me, and that's just on Discord. Like 50. 50. Dog, you're the one who just said, I don't want you to publicize me. I don't want to be a public figure. Dog, I'll blow you up on all my social media if you want. Dog. Okay, do you want me to promote you or not? Okay, Fizzy knocking. Do you want me to promote you or no? Okay, then I won't. No, I'm a certified project management professional. What do you do for a living? Dog, I asked you a question. I answered your question. Why won't you answer mine? Okay, I don't want to play Mr. I'm a secret agent. I just want to have a normal conversation with you. But if you don't want to be candid,
or like come from a place of like desperation or react.
dog, why is it dog? Why is it that I have all your questions? I got to show you my passport. I got to show you my driver's license, and you just can't be honest and tell the world that you give people hand jobs. There you go. That's what I'm saying. So just be honest about it. There you go. So my man is a hustler. He charges $10 per hand job, which is a hell of a rate. Knock yourself out. Absolutely. And you don't want me to promote that? I get you. Absolutely. No, I'm a certified project. No, 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 I'm not. I'm not. Don't worry about it. But your hand job business is crazy. You're gonna have arthritis by age 25. In answer to your question, I'm a certified project management professional. There you go, dog. This motherfucker give you hand jobs in the 30th century, man. Good on you. 38. I am 38. Man, I would kiss my own ass if I had 50 watchers right now, dog. Ask anyone. Ask anyone. Yeah, but they're not all paying attention to me. I'm looking at the people in Discord and they're doing 15 different other things. Not this Discord either. The Aiden Ross Discord. Well, of anything, I am all over the internet. This again from the guy who can only identify one camera that's talking to him when three were showing me. So whenever you say anything like, dude, I don't know if I can take this for truth, it's like, dog, you were just here when I was on three different cameras in front of you and you weren't taking that legitimately. So what are you going to take legitimately? It is not my job to prove anything to you, my man. I've known you. short amount of time. And based on that judgment, I can already tell that you are not that detail oriented. If you were detail oriented, you would have figured that out way early. You would have been like, oh, this motherfucker's got a fucking ton of cameras on right now. Instead of, hey, motherfucker, you don't have the courage to turn on a single camera right now when 3 of them are looking at you in the face. I resort to everything you want. That's just solid evidence that you aren't paying attention at life. Dog, you haven't even looked at my social media. You're looking at one of my 8 channels. Like this is like me explaining to an ant how I stream. Like, dude, you got to get in the same realm as where I live. That's dog. Let me just tell you this right now. You're gonna be famous anyway. My stream's gonna be big. No, that's not what I'm saying. I was gonna say you're gonna be famous anyway. I'm dog. I'm gonna wait for you to finish. Are you done? Excellent. I'm gonna make you famous because I stream all the time, 24/7. So you've already been on this stream. So I don't have to publish a podcast for you to get famous. You're gonna get famous anyway, big dog. I know, but the fact that you even came into this stream means you're gonna be famous. Dog, half the world already knows that you're a world famous hand job giver. I'm already getting people emailing me about it. Hey, how do I hook up with Fizzy Knockin'? I tell them to just find you on TikTok. No. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I've got all the hand jobs right here, dog. What I can tell you is I will not purposely make you famous. In fact, I will do my best to that you stay a secret. No one's going to know about it. I like it. I like it a lot. Good on you. All right, so let's talk about other subjects. Do you play any video games? Okay. No, I totally remembered that. I just didn't know if, in addition to playing with dicks, if you ever played video games. That's okay. I was going to ask, do you want to play a video game? We were playing video games here earlier. Do you want to play one? Do you want to play a video game? Okay, what is the song? Oh, it's Mariah Carey? Good on you. Yeah, there's a super sexy rabbi right here. and we also play video games. We sing karaoke. It's just like midnight, and a bunch of people are already asleep. I will right now. You, look, I have a question for you, Pissy Napkin. This is a legitimate question. You ready for this? If I were with Mariah Carey, this is a good question. This is a very good question to the field, to everybody out there. If I were with Mariah Carey and I was able to take a sex tape with her and I put it on YouTube, would anybody ever see it? That's my question. Does anyone get how funny this joke is? Apparently, no. Hell, can you hear me? Riser. 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 Do you understand why this is a hilarious joke? Because normally when people put things on YouTube, they get publicized, but my shit doesn't. So if I made a sex tape with Mariah Carey and uploaded that sex tape onto my YouTube account, no one would see it. So it leads to the proverbial question: if Rabbi Rothschild creates a sex tape with Mariah Carey and puts it on YouTube and no one sees it, did it really occur? It's like the whole if a tree falls in the forest. Exactly. Okay. Good on you, man.